Jai Radha Madhava Jai Kunja Bihari Jai Radha Madhava Jaya Kunja Bihari Gopidana Baba Grivadari Jaya Grivadari Gopidana Baba Grivadari Jaya Grivadari Yasodanandana Braja Dhanaranjana Jaya Braja Dhanaranjana Yasodanandana Raja Dhanaranjana Jaya Raja Dhanaranjana Yamuna Dhiravarachari Jaya Kunja Bihari Yamunatiravarachari Jaya Kunja Bihari Yamunatiravarachari Jaya Kunja Bihari Radha Madhava Jaya Kunja Bihari Jaya Radha Madhava Jaya Kunja Bihari Gopidana Ballabha Grivadari Jaya Grivadari Gopidana Ballabha Grivadari Jaya Grivadari Gopidana Ballabha Grivadari Jaya Grivadari Sodanandana Raja Dhanaranjana Jaya Raja Dhanaranjana Yasodanandana Raja Dhanaranjana Jaya Raja Dhanaranjana Yasodanandana Raja Dhanaranjana Jaya Raja Dhanaranjana Yamunatiravarachari Jaya Kunja Bihari Yamunatiravarachari Jaya Kunja Bihari Radha Madhava Jaya Kunja Vihari Jaya Radha Madhava Jaya Kunja Vihari Jayam Vishupad Paramahangsa Brahadakacharya Asadhara Sadushi Shiman His Divine Grace Shalesi Bhaktivedanta Swami Raj Srila Prabhupada Ki Jai Gaur Premanande Haribol Slava Zabrani Bhaktam Slava Shri Guru Shri Grangi Om Vishnu Padaya Krishna Prasthaya Bhute Srimati Bhaktivedanta Swami Tinamane Namaste Saraswatam Deve Gauravani Pacharane Nirvishesha Srinivadi Paskatyade Siddharne Om Agyanantamanandasya Gananjana Salakaya Chaksur Militam Yena Tasmai Shri Guruve Namaha Shri Chaitanya Manobhishtam Stapitam Yena Bhutale Swayam Rupa Kadamayam Tadati Swapadantikam Vandeham Shri Guru Shri Uta Padakamalam Shri Guru Vaishnavam Scha Shri Rupam Sagrajatam Sahagana Raghunatam Vitam Tam Sajivam Sadvaitam Savadutam Hridana Saitam Krishna Chaitanya Devam Shri Radha Krishna Padan Sahagana Lalita Shiva Sakans Vitamscha Hey Krishna Karna Sindhu Dinabandho Jagatpate Gopesha Gopika Kanta Radha Kanta Namostute Tapta Kanshena Gaurangi Radhe Vrindavaneshwari Prishubhanu Siddhadevi Pranamami Hari Priye Vanchakapa Dhruvyascha Kripa Sindhubhyevacha Patitanam Pavanebhyo Vaishnavebhyo Namo Namaha Shri Krishna Chaitanya Pranitinanda Shri Advaita Gadadhar Shivasati Gaura Bhaktivinoda Hare Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama 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 Hare Hare Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya Srimad Bhagavatam Canto 9, Chapter 6, The Downfall of Sobari Muni, text number 8. Shesham Nivedayam Asa Pitre Tena Vatad Guru Choditak Praksha Nayaha Dushtam Etad Akarmakam Shesham Nivedayam Asa Pitre Tena Chatad Guru Choditak Prakshanayaha Dushtam Etad Akarmakam Nivedayam Asa Pitre Tena Chatad Guru Choditak Prakshanayaha Etam Akarmakam Shesham Nivedayam Asa Pitre tena chatat guru. Chodita prakshanaya. Dushtam etad karmakam. Shesham nivadayamasa. Pitre tena chatat guru. Koditak prakshanayaha. Dushameta karmakam. Ladies. Shesham nivedayamasa. Pitre tena chatat guru. Koditak prakshanayaha. Dushtam etad karmakam. Shesham, the remnants. Nivedayam asa, he offered. Pitre, to his father. Tena, by him. Cha, also. Tat Guru, their priest or spiritual master. Choditaha, being requested. Prakshanaya, for purifying. Aha, said. Dushtam, polluted. Etat, all this flesh. Akarmakam, not fit to be used for offering and shraddha. Translation and purport by His Divine Grace, A.C. Bhaktivedanta Swami Srila Prabhupada. Vikukshi offered the remnants of the flesh to King Ikshvaku, who gave it to Vashishta for purification. But Vashishta could immediately understand that part of the flesh had already been taken by Vikukshi. Therefore he said that it was unfit to be used in the Shraddha ceremony. Purport. That which is meant to be offered in yajna cannot be tasted by anyone before being offered to the deity. In our temples, this regulation is in effect. One cannot eat food from the kitchen unless it is offered to the deity. If something is taken before being offered to the deity, the entire preparation is polluted and can no longer be offered. Those engaged in deity worship must know this very well so that they may be saved from committing offenses in deity worship. Namo Vishnu Varaya Krishna Prasthaya Bhutaya Srimate Bhaktivedanta Swami Namane Namaste Saraswatam Deve Gauravani Bicharane Nirvishesha Srinivadi Vaskadyade Sadarana. What appears to be the Vedic culture is actually the culture of the spiritual world. The culture of the spiritual world is Yagya Vai Vishnu, because everyone is in love with Krishna. Therefore, whatever they do is to please him. And when Krishna is pleased, because he's the complete total of affection and love, therefore when he's pleased, it increases the love and affection for everyone. And since love and affection and the different varieties of rasa is actual pleasure and happiness, therefore that's the only thing that goes on in the spiritual world. Because everyone, what else are we trying to do except for obtaining pleasure and happiness? The material world means that we make a great effort to obtain happiness and we get very little result. But still, we'll go through the great effort to get that happiness, which generally means pungsa striya maituni bhavang etang tura mudya granti mahu ato griya kshetra sutapta vitera janasya moho yam ahang mameti. That pungsa means male and striya means female. maituni. And when they combine together for a happiness, then granti mahu, there's a knot within the heart. And because of that knot of affection, therefore everything, the material world expands. The to, griha, the house, kshetra, the land, sutta, the children, apta, the relatives, and aitar, the wealth, everything expands. In order to have the reflection of conjugal rasa and all the other rasas in the material world, it requires effort. It doesn't happen automatically. It requires some endeavor. And because of that endeavor, one becomes more and more attached to all the articles that go into that happiness, which is generally, Prahlad Maharaj also says, tuchava is insignificant happiness, or as another great devotee said, it's like a drop of water in the desert. Sita atapa pata brishana. There may be water in the desert, but if it's only a drop of water, it's not very satisfying. But it's better than nothing. So the whole material world has expanded. In order to get that one drop of water, they made it even more complicated. Generally speaking, the ass carrying the heavy burden can just bend down his head and eat the grass underneath his feet. It's not very much. It's not a great feast, but it's something. But because he's an ass, therefore he'll carry a very heavy load for a long distance to serve the washerman, so at the end of the day the washerman can allow him to eat the grass beneath his feet. And he thinks there's some kind of relationship between the heavy load I'm carrying and the grass that I'm eating. He doesn't see that without the heavy load he could still eat the grass. So the material world, which is in the Vedic culture, is relatively simple, a little land and a cow, and the economic problem is solved. With the land one can grow nutritious food, and the milk can help us, and use the bull to plow the land, so there's no need for tractors and factories and everything else. And get milk from the cow so that one can actually imbibe a higher consciousness. Because whatever we eat, we get the consciousness of what we're eating. Sometimes we find that if the cook is in a bad mood, not only he puts too much salt in the food, but the very attitude you can experience, the very consciousness of the cook you can feel and experience in the food, because consciousness is real. If you walk into a room and everyone's happy, then you feel better. And if you walk into the room that everyone is angry and yelling at each other, then you generally want to walk out of the room. Because it's not only the volume of their voice, it's their very consciousness that one becomes affected by it. So in the spiritual world, everything is offered to Krishna out of love. And in the material world means no one offers anything to Krishna for any reason. Although one cannot do anything without Krishna's help, and ultimately the result goes to Krishna. But not necessarily in the most positive way, because the material world is one big school in order to encourage people to go back to the spiritual world. So there's the positive encouragement of becoming happy, blissful, feeling love and affection, and then there's the negative, which is the opposite of that. Anger, hate, greed, lust, etc., which is very unpleasant. And therefore, after some time, hopefully in the human form of life, one asks, what's going on? Why I want to be happy, I'm trying so hard, and I'm getting the opposite result. Maya is saying this is where happiness is, and I'm trying it out here and there, and it's simply bringing unhappiness. So I want to be happy. Is there any place where I can actually be happy? So that's called human form of life. Animal life means that one drop of water is sufficient for me. Even if I'm in a desert, I'm going to search for another drop somewhere, even if it takes a year to find it. So that's animal life. The tiger works all month to kill one animal so he can eat. So we may think, well, animal's very strong, I'd like to be a tiger. Then I can be strong too. And every time I roar, people listen to me. Now I roar and no one even listens, they can't even hear me. Rah, what was that? So let me become a tiger, and I'll roar very loudly, and everyone will show me respects. Oh, tiger. I won't have so many friends, but I'll feel myself very powerful and strong. So then one becomes a tiger, and he gets a meal every, week or so, and he thinks, if he had the brains, if he could remember his past life, he thought, well, I thought it was bad before, but at least I was eating every day. And at least even if I was eating meat, there was some spices or something. I had some potatoes or something to go along with it. This is the same old giraffe I'm eating every day. It's getting a little boring. Besides, I never like raw food. But I don't know how to cook, so I guess I got to settle for the raw food. Everyone kept on telling me, you should eat raw, and now I finally got the chance. So human form of life is meant to know how to perform sacrifice for Vishnu, so that one doesn't have to get one can minimize the negative reaction. Now, in every Vedic mantra, there is a chanting of Om, which means that ultimately every single sacrifice, every single injunction in the Vedic literature is ultimately aimed at satisfying Vishnu. Even if one doesn't know it's Vishnu, at least one should know that one should follow Vishnu's instruction. Because at least if we follow Vishnu's instruction, then we minimize the reaction to our activities. The whole material world is in defiance of Krishna, that I am this body, I can do what I want, and I'm not going to be touched by the illusory energy because I made a deal with Krishna. I give him some offering and he protects me. Just like some devotee, sometime in the 60s, or I think maybe the early 70s, there is one friend of Krishna who's a drug dealer. So he thought, if I give some donation, a big donation to the temple, then Krishna will protect me because he's a business associate of mine. We work together. And therefore, if I get caught, then I'm going to tell people, I'm going to tell the authorities where the money went to, who I'm working for, who's the actual big boss I'm working for. So he got caught, this particular devotee. He thought Krishna was bribed. He's going to give him protection. But he didn't give him protection. He got caught. Krishna doesn't need our protection, our money. Nor can we bribe Krishna to give us protection. Because it's not our money. It's just an illusion. And if we give something to Krishna, Krishna may or may not accept it. And Prabhupada cautions the devotee should should or should not accept it. As a matter of fact, after that incident, Prabhupada told the devotees to be much more careful who they accept money from. So similarly, Prabhupada writes in the Nectar of Instruction that when we go over some people's houses, sometimes life members, they want to offer us some food. Their idea is, sometimes it's not always to please the devotees, it's to offer them their sinful reactions. Their idea is that if I offer food to the devotees, and it's offered to Vishnu or Krishna through them, no matter how, whatever our consciousness was, whatever we do, somehow or another it's going to diminish our sinful reactions. We'll very nicely offer them to the devotees so they can suffer and we can enjoy more. So one should be careful that one should not eat food offered by who are given to the devotees by non-devotees, who don't worship Vishnu, who don't prepare the food to sacrifice for Vishnu. Therefore it's not prasadam. Of course we can try and offer it within our mind, but we may not be so powerful that Vishnu, Krishna is going to accept it anyhow. Or it may not be offerable. Because the whole aim is to please Krishna. And as much as we actually have that consciousness of trying to please Krishna, that's what pleases Krishna. One time Prabhupada, when he was installing Rukmini Dwarka Nath, the little deities in Los Angeles. So these are one of the first deities, if not the first deities, installed within our movement. So Prabhupada was explaining that you may offer your halava to the deities. At that time, halava was very popular. It doesn't seem as popular as it used to be. Every day, well, there's on special days especially, devotees would eat halava, especially in the winter, with a lot of ghee. And if they put raisins in the halava, it was considered a big feast. Very special halava. So Prabhupada is saying, you may offer Krishna your halava, and you may even put raisins in it. Fruity halava, they called it. But it's not that Krishna is obliged to accept it. Oh, he's offering fruity halava, how can I, they prepared it in the wrong consciousness, they didn't wash the raisins, whatever. But I'll accept it anyhow because I'm hungry. I need some good halava today. So the deity is not thinking like that. He doesn't need our fruity halava. And then Prabhupada gave the example of, he started to give the example of one great devotee, Vangsi Vas Babaji, who used to treat his deities as if they were his children. Sometimes we're really anxious to develop a relation with the deities, so we go, oh, maybe if we have our own deities, or maybe when no one's looking on the altar. But generally speaking, only a very advanced devotee can treat the deities as in such a mood. Otherwise it becomes offensive. Krishna doesn't accept our materialistic mood in relation to him. In any case, Vangsi Das Babaji was a great devotee, and he used to treat his deities in a very familiar way, as if they were his children. But then Prabhupada stopped and he mentioned about another devotee, Sanatana Goswami. And Sanatana Goswami, he was begging, doing Madhukar in Vrindavan at that time. And he went to one Brahman's house where the Brahman had a deity, Madan Mohan. So Madan Mohan was living in this Brahman's house as one of the Brahman's children. They were very advanced. And Madan Mohan used to sometimes go outside and play with his children. But that night, in a dream, this particular Brahmin, he had a dream that tomorrow one mendicant is going to come and you should offer me to him because he's living by himself and he's a great devotee of mine and I'd like to live with him for some time. So the Brahmin, although he didn't want to, he offered. When next day Sanatana Goswami came to beg from this Brahmin some rotis. Roti means, at that time, it wasn't a chapati with ghee on it. No, it was some ground up wheat, maybe growing wild or maybe cultivated, ground up and then put some water in it, mix it up, make it into a little ball and throw it in the fire. So if you ever threw anything into a fire, you know sometimes, just like we have a sacrifice and then we throw bananas in. Because we don't eat those bananas, hopefully. But you know that half the banana is cooked and half of it is raw. So similarly, when you put these bread balls into the fire, half of it is cooked and half of it is raw. It's not something you serve for a wedding or at the Sunday feast, if you want anyone to come back again. In any case, so that's what they offered to the sadhus at that time. They didn't have stoves, grills, they didn't have anything. They just could build a fire, throw these balls into it and cook them. So Sanatana Goswami was told that Madan Mohan wanted to live with him. So he said, okay, but my dear Madan Mohan, please, you can understand, I'm a mendicant. Living conditions where I am are not first class. It's not a hotel. There's no running water. There's no kitchen. There's nothing. Madan Mohan said, no, it's all right. I'll be a little austere. I'll accept whatever you want me to do. Wherever you put me, I won't complain. So Sanatana Goswami was living underneath a tree. There was no temple at that time. So he put Madan Mohan on a branch of the tree. So Madan Mohan was a little surprised. He thought things were going to be austere, but not this austere. This is too much. Anyhow, he didn't complain for a while. But then every day, Sanatana Goswami, all he did was offering these dry chapatis, these rotis. So one day Madan Mohan couldn't take it anymore. And he said, my dear Sanatana Goswami, he said, every day you're offering me this dry chapati, roti. He said, can't you even beg a little salt? So Sanatana Goswami said, today salt, tomorrow you'll want sweets. He said, I'm an old man, I can hardly even move. Whatever I have, I'm offering to you. So please accept it. Don't complain. So Prabhupada said he had to eat whatever Sanatana Goswami offered to him, because Sanatana Goswami is a bhakta. And therefore he had to accept it. But then Prabhupada said, but what is your value? And what is the value of the things that you have? It's actually nothing. That the real thing is bhakti. And then Prabhupada said that, Krishna, kindly take, I brought this for you, kindly take. I'm rotten and fallen, but I brought this for you. And then Prabhupada started to cry. And he said, that will do. Don't be puffed up. Always remember that you're dealing with Krishna. That is my advice to you. Thank you. So we think, well, here's the deities. Same old deities. They never change. They were here today and they'll be here tomorrow. So maybe tomorrow I'll see them. They'll still be in the same place, doing the same thing. Of course, we don't know what they're doing when we close the curtains and no one's there. Probably discussing about the devotees, how to save them. In any case, they're not just statues, they're actually the Supreme Personality of Godhead. We may be looking at them thinking, oh, they're very nicely dressed. And they're looking at us, wondering, when are they going to wake up? When are they going to become Krishna conscious again? So we should understand they're much more conscious than we are. They're fully conscious. And our job is to become conscious enough to find out how conscious they are by the process of devotional service. And part of that is offering whatever food to the deity, not with the idea that we're going to enjoy it, because just with the idea of enjoying it, it becomes polluted and it becomes unofferable to the deity. What to speak of eating the food. That Krishna is there is material and there's spiritual. Spiritual means to offer things to Krishna with love and devotion to please him, and material means that we want to gratify our senses. So as soon as sense gratification gets involved, then it's no longer offerable to Krishna, because there's no love and devotion in it. And Krishna only eats the love and devotion. There's nothing for him to eat if we offer it without love and devotion. He doesn't want to eat our sinful reactions, our sinful desires. It's not very tasty. There's nothing, that's not why we're offering the food to Krishna. In any case, one has to be careful in deity worship and make sure, especially in the offering of food, that it's done with the proper consciousness. Otherwise, Krishna may not eat it, and it may not be prasadam. And all we'll eat was our own sinful mentalities or materialistic conceptions. So I'll stop there. Thank you. Any questions or comments? Yes.
How we know that it is prasadam? In our stage, in the beginning stage.
Well, you may know, you may not know. If you don't know, then it means that we don't know, we're not so conscious. But we should eat it with devotion as a service to Krishna. Then Krishna will make up for the deficiencies of what we're eating if we can actually eat with devotion. If Krishna is there, everything becomes purified. And if our consciousness is not in Krishna consciousness, and Krishna is not there, and our mentality of devotion is not there, then it's whatever we're eating will not be very productive. Because the whole idea is to become Krishna conscious. And if we're eating in some other consciousness, then where is the idea that it's prasadam?
Well, when we distribute prasadam,
what's that?
When we distribute prasadam and outside to the people, they're not taking like prasadam.
Well, they're taking prasadam, but there's many factors. How we're offering the prasadam, who cooked it, who grew it, so many different factors. But the question is, how much Krishna is there, then it's prasadam. The more devotion is put into each part of it, the more likely Krishna will be perceived in the offering.
And about taking food in the restaurants, for example, sometimes they have Govinda's restaurants all over the world. They say they have four rounds prasadam. They're cooking and chanting 4 rounds.
Well, we better chant an extra 12 rounds to make up for it. No, as I said, it depends on the consciousness of the cook. But it also depends on the consciousness of the server and the eater and so many different things. The bottom line is whether we're remembering Krishna or not when we take prasadam. We can blame everyone else, but if we're in Maya, it's not going to help very much, no matter how much we blame everyone else. And if we're in Krishna consciousness, then we'll make up for whatever deficiencies there are. Just the fact that we get something to eat is quite a blessing. We take so many things for granted. Anything else? Yes. Give her the microphone. Someone can translate. Put the microphone next to your mouth so you can.
Na kakšen način, ko smo Na kakšen način, ko smo zunaj, pač kupimo hrano zunaj, v trgovini smo lačni, pa smo na poti, pa to hrano bi pač radi pojedali, kako, na kakšen način jo potem ponudimo, kako je najboljš, da jo ponudimo.
So when we buy some food outside, when we are hungry, what is the best way to offer that food that is bought outside to Krishna?
Well, some of it may not be so offerable, especially grains, cooked grains. Krishna won't really accept cooked grains. They're just the cooking, the mentality of the machine that made it, of course, or the people who made the machine or whatever. Other things can be, things can be offered. What's the mentality? The whole mentality is that everything here belongs to Krishna, and that we're offering it to please Krishna. Now, I don't know if Krishna eats, in the spiritual world, he eats white bread, or other kinds of grains. But in any case, we have to offer it to Krishna. We have to try, at least. And the best thing is remember who Krishna looks like, and find out the prayers that we can say to Krishna, to offer to him, and try to hope that Krishna is pleased by our offering, that we're offering these things. We hope that Krishna eats and he's happy eating this. So that's more or less the mentality. And if we offer something to Krishna, we think, well, he'll never like this. Why are we offering it? Why would you offer someone, if you're in love with someone, why would you offer something you didn't think he liked? Just imagine you had a boyfriend and he hated spinach, but you like spinach. But you've made a vow, I won't eat anything that's not offered to him. So you keep on offering him spinach. And he says, I hate spinach, why keep on offering it? Because I want to eat it, that's why. It's not exactly the way of developing a very close relationship with someone. So we offer Krishna things he likes. And we do that to please him. And then it's, as much as we know Krishna, as much as we have that feeling, then Krishna will be pleased and reveal himself to us. Okay. Kala Grantaraj Srimad Bhagavatam ki jai, Srila Prabhupada ki jai, Gaur Premanande.